Want me to read this?
All right, we'll now call the city council regular meetings to order for May 13th. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. The invocation will be given by Councilwoman Brittany McGuire.
Dear Lord, we want to thank you for this evening. Thank you for the rain that you sent tonight, Lord. We know we all needed it. Lord, I'm asking you to help us to make good decisions this evening. Help everything to be clear. Help us to be guided by what you want us to do for this city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May be seated. Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Councilmember McGuire. Here. Councilmember McCure. Here. Councilmember Taylor. Here. Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Here.
Mayor Anderson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. First up, we have a couple of proclamations. First to be a proclamation of National Travel and Tourism Week.
Whereas May 19th to 25 is recognized as National Travel and Tourism Week to promote the contributions of travel and tourism to our nation's economy, prosperity, and image around the world, and the well-being of Americans. And whereas travel to and within the United States produces significant economic benefits, generates 2.1 million in economic output, and supports 15.8 million jobs. And whereas travel and tourism are vital components of Highland County's diverse economy, a cornerstone of our vibrant quality of life, and a catalyst for entrepreneurship, cultural enrichment, historic preservation, community revitalization, and economic growth. And whereas in recent years, visitor spending in Highland County generated 310.3 million per year, generated 29.8 million in state and local taxes, provided 4,825 local jobs, and saved each Highland County household $169 per year. Whereas Highland County Tourist Development Council, TDC, mission is to contribute to the positive quality of life of residents of Highlands County and our customer through destination promotion, tourism development, advocacy, and resource management, which are important components of the future economic growth. And whereas in marketing Highlands County as a premier travel destination, the Highlands County Tourist Development Council works tirelessly in partnership with state and local governments, businesses, and nonprofit organizations to extend the appeal and reach of Highlands County's tourism advocacy, advertising, and promotions. And whereas travel and tourism professionals are devoted ambassadors for Highlands County, whose commitment to destination leadership, increasing economic impact to the county and from visitation, community, and destination development, hospitality, and progress exemplify the highest ideals and best traditions of Highlands County. Now, therefore, the City Council, Avon Park, Florida, does hereby recognize May 19th through 25th, 2024 as National Travel and Tourism Week in Avon Park, Florida, and calls this observance to the attention of our citizens.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Next proclamation will be International Museum Day.
A proclamation of the City Council, Avon Park, Highlands County, Florida, recognizing May 18th, 2024 as International Museum Day in Highlands County. Whereas museums throughout Highlands County, Florida, and the United States of America and the world provide unique educational and cultural opportunities that significantly enhance our quality of life. And whereas museums play a vital role in preserving Highlands County's rich history, telling stories about our past while providing insight into our future by maintaining and nurturing historical links. And whereas Harley County's museums will celebrate International Museum Day on May 18th, 2024 in numerous ways, including offering special exhibits and hosting guest speakers. And whereas with the theme Museums for Education and Research, the 2024 observance of International Museum Day underscores a pivotal role of cultural institutions in providing a holistic educational experience and encourages a more conscious, sustainable, and inclusive world. Whereas we encourage all Avon Park residents to recognize the importance of museums to our communities and to work together to preserve these valuable institutions for our enjoyment and benefit today and in the future. Now, therefore, the City Council of Avon Park, Highlands County, Florida, does hereby proclaim May 18th, 2024 as International Museum Days in Highlands County, Florida.
Thank you very much. Well, story time with Jerry there.
You
Up
were
next, we
testing me, weren't you?
Up next, we have the consent agenda. This will be items 6 through 10. Be looking for a motion.
I just have a question about one of the items on the consent agenda.
Okay.
And I have questions on C7 and C8.
All right.
C9.
We'll take them one by one then. Starting with item number 6, this will be the minutes from city council regular meetings. Anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for C6.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Item number 7, this would be the purchase of spare pumps for the utilities manager, Joseph Sleva, and Public Works Director, Jason Atkinson. I believe there was a question you had. Bernice?
Yes, the company, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Xylem. It states on page 17 that it is the only authorized vendor to service, repair, and warranty in the state of Florida. Is this because of our models are old? Are they new? Are they the most updated pumps that we have that only one vendor service our types of pumps in the state of Florida?
Okay, yeah. Jason, I apologize for not giving you a chance to give an opening. Your opening might speak to it, giving us the situation. You want to?
Jason Atkinson, Public Works Director. Joseph Sleva, utility manager.
Yeah.
There you go, sorry. So the pump stations are our pumps. We run the pump Xylem. It's they have to be replaced over time. So and we're required to, and pumps have a useful life. So we have in our pump station, some operate 2 pumps, 3 pump systems. So over time, the pumps fail because of different reasons. They can burn up. They can just, their useful life. They only last a certain amount of time because they're the majority of them are all underwater. So Xylem, it's a company that we use, and their parts are specific for, like, all the other parts that hook up to it is specific for that. So they're interchangeable, but it's like should I give you an analogy? It's like putting Nissan parts on a Toyota, basically. So we decided this is a really good pump. We like these pumps, and we to replace them is having additional ones in case of any emergency. We do have some spare parts, spare impellers, things of that nature. So this just makes it that much easier to where our staff doesn't have to use different systems and then because they have different guides, they have different connections at the bottom, and they're all specific for that manufacturer.
Okay, so are our pumps, the ones that we use for the city of Avon Park, are they considered like old pumps, outdated? Or are these new pumps? And I get the part that we need certain exchangeable parts to go with our particular pumps. But I was asking, like, for our pumps, is this a geographical area? Everybody uses the same kind of pumps mostly? Or is our pumps new updated pumps, or are they old outdated pumps? And that's why we have to go with that company, because the pumps are old and they're the only one that has the parts in it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so these are surplus pumps. So if anything happens, we have an issue, it's a backup pump. So if something goes wrong and we need to go out and replace the pump, we can just pull that pump out, and then later on, when you put it in an area and look at it and see what's wrong, or send it off to a service shop. But these are backup pumps. In case of emergency, we go ahead, we pull that pump, and we put the new pumps, our backup pump, we put it in there. Maybe it's a small problem, we get that fixed. And then when we could put the pump back into the commission. So people use different pumps. We like the Xylem, and that's what's been around. And normally you don't, unless you have a problem with it, you don't make a change. Because if you do, you got to start making broader changes, and then it's a little bit more difficult. But it's not a fact that we have old pumps. It's just on a cycle. It's just part of our operation, Councilwoman.
Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve C7, purchase of the spare pumps.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes,
motion passes.
thank you very much. Item number 8, this will be the State Highway Lighting Maintenance and Compensation Agreement. Mark, I see your name there. Any comments you'd like to give about it?
No, just on the background there, this is part of our 7-year agreement with FDOT to maintain these 255 lights, and each year it goes up 3%.
Any questions on item number 8? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. We approve C8, State Highway Lighting Maintenance and Compensation Agreement Work Order.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, we'll call a roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Item number 9, to be award ITB 24-05, the Glenwood and Crystal Lake Water Treatment Plant Chlorine System and Control Panel. You want to give us a quick overview of the project? You can see the hop in his step. Look at him coming.
Good evening, everyone. Joseph Sleva, Utility Manager. In regards to the ITB, a few years back, we upgraded the Bell Street Water Treatment Plant. New SCADA system and a couple of the components inside the plant were upgraded. The other two plants, Crystal Lake and Glenwood, they're a little behind. We had some mechanical issues after some power surges a couple years back. There's some issues with the fire flows, and also the chlorine systems are a little outdated. This is going to cover all that and get us back to where we need to be, and also compliance as well. So
Okay, thank you, Joseph. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I got some questions for Joseph. The Odyssey Manufacturing, we sent out a bid and they was the only one to bid. We sent it out the second time. They were the only with an additional advertising requirement, and they still was the same bidder. By law, can we put it out to bid again, or we only allowed to put it out twice? And the reason why I'm asking this is we only got one bid. Maybe you're going to answer the question by law. And once you answer the question by law, I'm probably going to get my answer answered.
So we were required by the grant to go out to bid again because we only got one bid.
Okay.
And we were required to advertise it in a nationally published newspaper.
So by law, can we put it out for a third bid since we only got that one bidder? And the reason why I'm asking, I don't know if you know that answer, but the reason why I'm asking is we have, even though they were the only bidder for the second time, we have nothing else to compare that bid with. So my question is, by law, can we put it out a third time?
I'm not sure the answer to that because of the grant.
Because, okay.
Yeah. It will delay the grant.
So to be clear, it's all grant funds, correct?
Correct.
And Council Jason Axon, Public Works Director, I want to add to that, we had the first time around, we had plenty of people showed up for the pre-bid meeting. I would say it was somewhere around 10 to 12 individuals out there for the pre-bid meeting. And the second time around, we had probably 7, 8 of them. And we thought maybe, okay, we're going to get another but we still only got the one bid each time. But for whatever reason, that's the one bid is, but the company that bid is a good company. It is
Yeah.
that's a good company.
That is not my concern. My concern is, when we do the facade grant, we don't do one bid, and we're talking $2,500 and $5,000. Now we talking $600,000 on a one bid. So that's my concern. Are we willing to accept a one bid without seeing what anyone else would do? I get it. Maybe we on a time frame here because it is a grant, but that was my concern. On a one bid, we don't have nothing to compare it with.
Yeah, I think having more than one bid is good. But we do need to get these upgrades in place, and part of the upgrades that we're performing is similar how you saw members of the community in here that were discussing the issues that we're having with the water. So we're trying to get these upgrades as fast as possible to get maximize our pumping capacity and make sure our skate is up to date. With this, it'll help us in many aspects of our whole water plant.
Any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve award ITB 24-05 Glenwood and Crystal Lake Water Treatment Plant Chlorine System and Control Panel Improvements to Odyssey Manufacturing.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, please call a roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
No,
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you very much. Item number 10, this be a code enforcement lien reduction, 199 East Camper Street. Randy, you want to give us a quick overview?
So all those went off the consent agenda? Oh, okay. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's not the owner violator. It's the owner did come into compliance under 3 months after obtaining the property, spent a little over $100,000 in upgrades, and he is at 100% forgiveness. Any hard costs have been paid.
Okay. Any questions about this project?
Yeah, I just had one question. On the application, it said, if new owner, not family, then was any value paid to the violator? And it's checked off no, but on the other part of the application, it says yes, that they paid them $50,000.
Yeah, I have a copy that you should have a copy of the deed in your paperwork.
Right, but then down in our application on factors 2, as to new and non-violating owners underneath section 2, it says payments or promised payments to owner violator amount removed from reduction. So does that mean we have to remove that 50,000 from the amount they're wanting forgiven?
I'm not aware of that, no. That would be a legal question for Jerry.
Under 2C. I mean, under 2, there's not a C part, it's just under 2. Just says payments or promised payments to owner violator amount removed from reduction.
Yeah, didn't he sign an affidavit saying that they didn't benefit whatsoever and the owner did not benefit whatsoever?
He did, correct. He
Okay,
did.
so that pretty much says that the owner did not get any benefit.
So even though he paid him $50,000? I'm just
No,
reading it
no,
off
he-
the application. I don't know if
the
he paid him
applicant
anything.
paid the prior homeowner $50,000. I don't know where that would be a benefit to the applicant. That was a benefit to the homeowner that was in,
Well,
that originally had this.
the issue is whether it's a benefit to the violator himself. If he is benefiting, then
That's subjective. I would say that is $50,000 for that house. It seemed pretty reasonable. $50,000 for that. That house is worth a lot more than $50,000 if she were to sell it somewhere else. I would find it hard pressed to find that as a benefit.
well, How much was a lien for?
Right around 50.
23,444 dollars.
No, I would say absolutely not.
But I'll leave that to your decision then.
I mean, I appreciate all the upgrades that they did to the property. I appreciate them doing that. I just wanted to make sure we were following, what we put as a guidelines. I wanted to make sure we didn't step over that, or if I was just not understanding how we had written that up. If he gave the owner violator $50,000, if the owner that he gave the $50,000 to was the one who in fact had the violation.
Then we wouldn't give a 100%. That's what we had decided earlier. That if the owner was gonna benefit, we wasn't just gonna waive all of those fees. And look like they got $50,000 in the deal, but yet still we waiving all the fees.
Is there any reason why this couldn't be pushed off to the next meeting so Jerry can have time to look at it?
This guy's waited. I can tell you this is what he does for a living, and he flips houses. And it's been, not that I have no skin in this game, but if you want to do that, that's fine. But he's been waiting for quite a while on this. And it was really, the original violation was it needed a roof. So he put a $20,000 roof on the house and then another roughly almost $100,000 into it on top of that, plus paid $50,000 for it. So he's got about $170 into the house.
Mm-hmm. The damage to the roof, I believe, dated back to one of the hurricanes, isn't it?
It was like that about ever since I've been here. So I don't know.
Got it. So just the question is, do we want to ask Jerry to give a legal opinion on it and give him some time to look it over, or do we want to make a decision here tonight? So we just need to know the flavor of the council.
I think that if we're gonna set the rule, we gotta abide by it.
Right. And part of this is going to be, setting the rules. We have to interpret our own rules, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I'll make a motion to table it till next week's meeting.
Does that include asking Jerry to?
Yes,
Look at
asking
it.
Jerry, and please bring proof of what you find so we can read it.
Yes.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Just a question for Jerry. Do you think that having some time to look at it will yield a decent opinion, or do you think it'll ultimately still just kind of be up to the council?
I'll look at the way the wording is in your policy. And then obviously you're changing the policy is up to you. If the policy says what it says, then that we'll have to abide by that unless it's changed. And we've changed it in the past because it didn't fit the circumstances that we thought were fair. So I'll leave that ultimately to you as always, but I will look it over and check the wording to make sure that it's clear.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. That concludes the consent agenda. Action agenda item number 11. This will be an event request to Highlands County NAACP 5087. Be Memorial Day celebration. Mr. Al Norton, I believe, is here to speak on this.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is, we have this Memorial Day event. We have it every year. And it's just to remember and honor the veterans that paid the ultimate price. And we're just asking that we be able to have that event.
Okay, and for the record, your name is?
Al Norton.
Okay.
I'm the Veterans Affairs Chair.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the event?
No.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve D11 for the event for the NAACP Memorial Day celebration.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Mr. Knowlton, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 12. This will be Award ITB for number 24-07, Fire Station Hardening Construction. This will be to L Cobb Construction. Melody?
This is another CDBG grant. We got awarded $894,087. And the low bid came in at $659,247.07, L Cobb Construction. And you also have a recommendation to award from our engineers on the project, Cool and Cobb.
Okay. Obviously, myself and Brittany will be abstaining. That is a relatives company. Any questions on the bid award?
Nope.
All right, if there's no questions, do we have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve item D12, award 24-07 for the fire station hardening construction to L Cobb in the amount of $659,247.07.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McCure,
I abstain due to him being my uncle, the owner of the company.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
I'll abstain as the owner of the company is a relative.
motion passes.
Thank you. Item number 13, this will be a request budget increase for the new Dell network servers. See Matt's name there, but I don't believe he's with us.
Yes, he's actually on Zoom.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I'm here.
Give us a little overview of the network servers that you need.
All right, so we have the 3 servers that are far beyond end of life. They're not under warranty. We've basically been just hoping that it wasn't going to fail and backing everything up as much as possible. This will give us equipment that's under warranty, which if anything breaks, we have parts next day guaranteed by Dell. This will also increase the speed for our public works people. One of the servers is going to be in the public works building on the highway. It will increase the speed for everything, but also give us more redundancy, and it should cover us for, I would imagine, another 5 or 7 years.
Okay. Any questions for Matt? There's no questions. We'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve D13 budget increase for new Dell network servers.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Just one question. In July 22, we approved $200,000 for new computer equipment. To date, we've spent $98,000. Obviously, this addition will bump that up. Do we have any clue as to how much more we need, or are we pretty much done?
Is that for me?
If you're the one with the answer, then yeah.
Okay, so we have basically a couple ongoing projects. The server project will be part of it. We're looking at getting internet back at all of our locations. Right now, our public works guys are struggling with pretty terrible internet access. They working with local providers to try to get that in place, trying to basically bring the construction costs down. I don't foresee anything major as far as buying any more capital expenditures or anything. So I think this is probably going to be it for a while. We've done a desktop refresh, laptop refresh. We've got service tablets coming in for our code enforcement guys. We'll have the new servers in place. So I think that's pretty much it. I hate it coming in so far under budget, but it is what it is.
Well, we appreciate that.
So I got a question for Mayor. So
ahead.
when we get to the budget in a month or two,
Mhm.
you're not gonna need anything else?
You're asking me?
Yes.
I don't need anything else. No, I think we've got some conduit we're gonna have to put in for the fiber at a couple locations, but it's not a ton of money, and I don't even know if it's coming out of the IT budget. So
So pretty much what you got now is enough to complete everything you need.
Yeah, we'll probably have maybe some battery backups for the public works installation. I don't remember off the top of my hand what we have there for power protection, but that's maybe $1,000 device. It's not, it's not another $100,000 or anything.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none. Item number 14, we have the city manager evaluation. It's Denise Koger.
So the council asked to conduct a city manager's evaluation, and a form was provided. Instructions were agreed upon by council. Council was to record their comprehensive view or impression of the city manager's overall performance. The evaluation process also provided an opportunity for each council member to meet with the city manager one-on-one to discuss the evaluation. All council members completed the form and provided it to me. I've given a copy to Mark Schrader. Mayor Anderson, Deputy Mayor Bernard, and Councilmember McGuire met with the city manager. Councilmember McCure and Councilmember Taylor opted not to meet with him. The scale that was used to conduct the evaluation was a scale that was set on 1 to 5, 1 being does not meet expectations, 3 meets expectations, and 5 exceeds expectations. All the scores were put into a tabulation, and the results of the scoring is as follows. In regards to relations with the governing body being the council, 3.31 meeting expectations. In regards to organizational relationships, fiscal management, 3.73 meets expectations. Personnel management, 3.60 meets expectations. Managing the organization, 3.37 meets expectations. In regards to relations with the public, 3.35 meets expectations. In relations with other governments, a 3.60 meets expectations. The overall average score was a 3.46, meeting expectations. Based on the evaluation format that was approved by council, the next step would be for council as a whole to conduct and finalize the actual evaluation. And this can either be done at this time, or council can opt to schedule a different date and time to do that.
Okay. And by that, what is the outcome that you're looking for? Just would there ultimately be a vote, or just simply?
Well, it's an evaluation. So typically an evaluation is to talk about the strengths of the individual, any areas of concern, recommendations for improvement.
Okay.
And that's where we are here.
Okay. Does any of the council members want to talk about some of the areas we need to improve?
I don't understand why we have to do another evaluation when we just put it all down on paper anyway.
I think the idea is to hopefully get the city manager to respond to any weaknesses that you view, and commend them on the strengths that you see. I mean, ultimately, the city manager and the council have to work very closely together. There's only 2 employees of the city council. One is the city attorney and the other is the city manager. So if we want to get anything done, we certainly better have an open conversation, at least, with the city manager. So any way we can build that, help that, by all means, we have to do that. So.
My evaluation was completed based on my opinions and observations, and I've talked with people in the community in addition to several employees, and I stand by my original evaluation.
Okay. All right.
I guess my only question is, we agreed as a whole to do this evaluation process. And part of that I thought was meeting with Mr. Schrader and kind of expressing our concerns to him, and then him also giving us his take on it, and kind of like at least getting to do a back and forth. seeing maybe what his rationale was behind some of the decisions that he made, or providing input on areas that we feel like he could do better in, or areas that we felt like he was really strong in. I guess my question is more for why you two didn't participate as far as in the actual meeting with Mr. Schrader, when I feel like you two are talking about Shelley and Bernice were two of the biggest proponents behind the evaluation. And I'm not saying that's wrong or right. I'm just wondering what your rationale for that was.
Well, first of all, I wasn't one of the biggest opponents behind it, but I did vote for it. I think Shelley was the one that brought it to the table.
Okay.
And we all voted that he should be evaluated. And so the reason why I didn't go and sit with the city manager, I think that me and Mark already know where each other stand. And when I go in and talk to Mark and the information that Mark give back to me and I give back to Mark, I felt like there was no need. There was absolutely no need. Once Mark got my evaluation, he knew how I felt. And I pretty much know how he feels about certain things that go on in the city. And as you can see, Shelley was the one that gave him the lowest evaluation, and I came in second. I think that Mark cares about the city to a certain point, but I think Mark only cares about the city what the majority of the people see. But the city doesn't consist of a north and the east and the west. The city consists of north, south, east, and west. And I just don't feel that Mark gives all the city the same amount that he gives one part of the city. That's just one area that I found working with Mark in the last 2.5 years. Yes, there has been times that I've gone to Mark and asked him to do certain things. And one of them, he did wonderful. 2 of them, 3 of them. But there was one that still stands out to me as a sore thumb, and that's Memorial. Memorial Drives look like a piece of junk compared to Main Street and 27 and you name the big streets. And when I asked him about the mowing of Memorial, he got somebody out there to mow, and I'm still trying to figure out what contract, who we have with who that responsible for the mowing. I've talked to Mark about the trash being thrown out on Memorial. Every 7-9 days, I have to go out in front of my property and pick up 2 bags of Walmart trash, whether they throwing it out of their cars or whether the wind is blowing it to my area. I asked Mark to put out trash cans. I ride up and down Memorial, and when you get near I'm not sure what the new name is, but the old crate mill, it's like that's where the trash cans start, going toward to South Florida. But where we need them at, I mean, I don't know if they stole them or how many he thought should have went there. It didn't solve the problem. The grass grow up all over the sidewalk on the side of Duke Energy. They're cracked. You can't, it's just, to me, Mark don't concentrate on the whole city as a whole. And I get it. There's a lot of things Mark has to be responsible for. I get that. But I'm not sure how many of y'all was going in and talking to Mark and wanting certain things done. I just thought that certain things that when I wasn't asking for a whole lot, okay? You look at Memorial Road, I mean, boo-boo. I remember when I used to come in 9 months before I ran for council, I remember Council Gray saying that the roadway, when it rains and it piles up right there at Memorial and Hal McRae, boom, your car hits it, and she was scared that it was going to end up in somebody's yard or whatever. There's a lot of things in 2.5 years that hasn't been done to Memorial. And I can go on and on about certain things, but that's one that stands out to me the most. I think Mark cares about the city of Avon Park. I just don't think Mark cares about the whole city of Avon Park. Now, Main Street, Main Street, everybody worried about Main Street, 27. But Avon Park just don't consist of Main Street and 27.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that whole conversation should have been directed towards Mark since how he's the one, but
Mark already
anyway,
know,
but-
Brittany, Mark already know how I felt because I pretty much put it in
Well,
my comments.
I feel like though, if we put this process in, and the whole point was to evaluate, and if you had certain things that you wanted to say, I feel like he at least deserved the decency for all of us to show up, to spend our time with that purpose in mind as a whole evaluation, which, Mark's one person, so he manages a lot of employees. There's also financial restrictions, and there's also us as a council who have put a lot of these programs in place and who have helped determine timelines. So as far as getting all of these specific projects done, that doesn't rest on Mark's shoulders. And he's one part of a puzzle. Just because he's the city manager does not mean that he directs all aspects of the city. Financial guidelines and financial aspects is one of the main reasons a lot of times that projects don't get done. I mean, we've had the contract out with, like, for the Crystal Lake Club projects and stuff like that. That's been done for months and months and months. That's not on Mark's shoulders that isn't finished. That's on, EPI for whatever reason, if they were busy or whatnot.
Brittany, I
But-
don't think none of us made up the evaluation. We was just checking out what was given to us. Matter of fact, I don't think it was an adequate evaluation. Some of the stuff, how would I know what Mark do when
You
when
would
it
have
comes
went
to
and met
staff?
with him would be one reason. If you
here's-
didn't know what some of the
here-
answers
here-
were, I
here's
think, hold on, I'm not finished.
No,
I let you talk, so let me
Here's
finish.
the thing, when it comes to staff,
She was-
on the evaluation, y'all had about 4 or 5 questions in reference to staff. How would I know how Mark, and then it had the nerve to say all staff. How would I know how Mark interact with staff? The only way I would know, and I talked to Denise about this, that I would go out amongst the city and stop them doing their job and ask them, well, how's Mark? And how you getting along with Mark? And guess what? To me, that's a two-side. That's a one-sided. If I listen to what everything the employee said, I would have ate Mark up.
Well-
So Mark rarely comes to our meetings and he talks about staff. I feel as though there's certain staff Mark talks about. When he wants to give them their accolades, he's gonna talk about it. But we don't have 2 and 3 and 4 staff. Okay? We have a Avon Park, City of Avon Park staff. There's a lot of people that's out there doing a great job, but you never hear that from Mark. You only
Actually,
hear
I've heard
certain
that
ones.
quite a few times from Mark, and I've also seen
Certain
him.
ones,
No, ma'am.
okay?
And I've seen him advocate for quite a few employees. However, there's other ways to measure the workforce other than talking to people. The biggest one is employee retention. Okay, we had a huge issue prior to Mark with employee retention. If all of your employees are leaving, there's a problem. If you are retaining all of your employees, which I think he's done an amazing job at filling all of those positions and maintaining them,
Mhm.
as an employer, that speaks highly of your management style. It means that you feel you're being paid adequately. It means that you're being treated with respect, and it means that he's running an effective organization.
That doesn't mean that, Brittany. To me, that means people need a job and they'll.
No,
put up with
it
a
doesn't.
certain-
No, it doesn't mean
Yeah,
that.
that means to me,
No,
people
it-
need a job and they'll put up with a certain amount to keep a job because they got to bring food home, and put on. the
That's a
table.
very small portion.
Okay,
very
I'm-
small
I'm-
portion.
I'm not saying that it's not, Brittany, but what I'm saying is, I don't want you to try to pretend like everybody's enjoying their job here at a City of Avon Park, because I don't find that to be true at all.
You just said you didn't talk to any of them, so how would you
Well,
know?
well, I said I wasn't gonna go out there and
So
talk
how do
to
you
them.
know them, Bernice?
Employees come to me. You do know that,
I'm
right?
asking.
But like I said, I didn't think that was fair to Mark to hear a one-sided story of it. And of course, if I go and talk to Mark gonna give me his side of the story.
So it wouldn't be
somewhere in
one-sided
the
anymore. It would be
beginning, there
two-sided.
lies
You'd have,
truth. I would have never got to the truth.
but at least you would have had both sides.
Of course I would have.
Well, I think the plain and simple is that if you want a relationship to work and you want to have a professional working relationship with any person, you have to communicate with them. So if you're not going to communicate with them, then the relationship is doomed to fail. That much is very simple. So I think that all the council members and Mark need to reach out to each other and talk on a more regular basis so that they can air out any issues and talk about any positives. So that's what needs to happen. That's the only way that any of this is ever going to go to a good place. Otherwise, it's only going to always be in conflict. So
I agree. And I agree just stepping over issues or hearing one side of one thing and then running with that and not effectively looking into it, or at least giving him the opportunity to say what he wants to say. I feel like that's not really fair, regardless of if you could, maybe if he says something to you and you don't agree with it. Well, at least you heard it. At least you gave him a chance.
Okay, can I say this, Brittany? And I'm gonna be done with it because my evaluation speak of how I felt, and I'm not gonna change it because that's how I felt, and that's how I felt when I filled it out.
That's fine.
And I feel that way today. I used to go in and talk to Mark quite a lot. And he's shaking his head because he agreed. I was a new council. I had ideals and whatever for the city. I wanted to do all this stuff for the city. I find that when I went in to talk to Mark, Mark has a way of trying to convince you of his way. And by me being new, he knew more information. He had all the information. I'm new. There's a lot of stuff when we like these pumps and all this utility stuff. I don't know nothing about that. I would have to go and read that. But I know that if I go to Mark gonna give it to me. But I found out that not just utility, most of the things Mark is going to, before I leave out of his office, he's going to try to convince me his way. And so, Mark, if you want to know why I stopped coming, yeah, I lost 3 family members in the year of 22. March, August, and November. So that was part of it. But one of the reasons why I stopped coming to your office is because when I come to your office, I just need you to give me the information. Because I'm an adult enough, once you give it to me, to make my own sound decision. And I felt like you wasn't allowing me to do that. I always felt like you was trying to push your ideas onto me instead of just giving me the information that I need, send me on my way, and let me make the decision that I wanted to make, which I thought was best for the city. Because what you thought was best for the city and what I thought was best for the city, it was usually never the same. So I used to visit Mark all the time, and I had to stay out of his office if I felt that I was going to continue to make the best decision for the city that I thought was the best decision and not what Mark thought. So yeah, I thought I had a pretty good relationship with Mark, and I just thought it wasn't getting me anywhere.
Well, I think you could still go ask for information, and then you can still be woman enough to make whatever decision you choose to make. But still, if you're,
I did that.
I believe me, I don't doubt it. But what you should still do if you don't understand or you don't know the details about a certain situation, you still need to go to either Melody or Mark or Denise or Chrissy or somebody that's down there that actually can give you the information. And whether you want to explain to you or not is your decision. But you can still ask for additional documents or additional information or whatever you feel you need to make the best decision. But just avoiding any conversations or talking to Mark, I feel like does the opposite of helping you make a wise decision. I feel like it holds out some of the information that's vital to making those decisions.
And I think that as a council, I have a right to know, go and talk to Mark.
Oh,
just like you
absolutely.
have a right to go and talk to Mark about anything you want to. If I choose not to, then I don't. I do a lot of my own research, and then I love to, what questions I have, I love to bring them right here and address them
that's
right
fine.
here. That way, the folks sitting in the audience, they are more knowledgeable of what's going on as well. Instead of stuff being said behind the door. And I remember I sat here, Brittany, for 9 months and didn't really know how it worked. And they was up here making decisions, and I'm trying to play catch up. And by the time I figured out what was going on, they had to move to item number 10, and I'm still on 7 and 8. So there's a lot of a lot of the time I don't go to Mark, because whatever question I have, I like to bring them here. I like to bring them right here so that when I ask the question, because you never know who's sitting in the audience may have the same question I have and just not brave enough to come to the podium and ask.
Well, my thing, bottom line, I'll be done, is it doesn't have to be an either or. You can ask Mark questions and you can talk to Mark, and I feel like as his employer, I feel like that's something that we should be able to do. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, then you need to address the issue of why you don't, but it still should be an open door back and forth, just like if we needed to call Jerry and ask him something or email him something. We should be able to do that, and we should do that. If we're not doing that, then I don't feel like we're working as effectively for the city as we could be. And that's my bottom line.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, I feel like I could never go talk to Mark. I couldn't because every time I went to sit down in front of him, whether he meant to or not, I always felt like he looked down on me. Like I was an idiot, like, because the same way I was just learning. I didn't understand a lot of the things that were going on. And I don't know. I just didn't like the demeanor I got when I went in there.
Okay.
And we were also told at a meeting that when we talked to the employees at City Hall, it made them feel uncomfortable. Why did it make them feel uncomfortable?
I don't know, unless it was the topic. I don't know what the conversation was, so.
And they were also told, you don't need to talk to the council members. It's the veil of secrecy that I have a problem with.
Okay.
I also feel like I made a mistake when I sat up here and voted on him to get a raise, a 33% raise. I feel like that was a mistake, especially when we have other people in the city, especially the fire chief that hasn't got one since 2022. That was a 6% raise. Our CRA director to date hasn't got any kind of increase after his 90-day. So I feel like I made a big mistake with that.
I feel as though I did too on that raise when it came to giving you a raise, Mark. And one of the reasons why I felt it then and I still feel it now. You held this council, it's like at ransom. You know, you pretty much like, if we didn't give you what you want, you was walking. And at that moment I said, you don't care nothing about the city. You caring about padding your pocket. That's how I felt. Because I thought 33% raise, I thought that was a very high raise. And then I remember you saying something like, well, I came in on this pay here, and I think something about how long did y'all expect I've been running the city? How long do you expect that me to stay at that raise? Something to that effect. And my thing is, when you took the job, you knew it was that amount. You knew it was that amount. It ain't like nobody pressure you or tied your hands behind your back to make you take it. But I'm like her. I felt that 33% raise was too high. And the only reason why I voted yes on it, because I thought that it was always a Monday. I thought come Tuesday morning, that City Hall was going to be in a mess. Because you walked out on us.
I don't think we're here to consider a raise. So we're here to examine the job performance. So is there anything else on the job performance or evaluation?
Can I say one thing, Mayor?
Please.
In regards to the concern about whether employees can approach council and if they're being told not to, I know we have an open door in that. I've had council members speak to me outside of meetings. And I have never been told not to talk to a council member.
This comment was made way before you got here.
Okay.
Way before.
All right.
So maybe your in and outdoor policy has changed, but that comment was made.
Okay.
Maybe it wasn't changed. Maybe that was just something Mark was telling us. Maybe it was always the same.
All I can speak to is what I've seen since I've been here. And I know for sure, and employees tell me that they've talked to council members and it's never been discouraged since I've been here.
Right. The only thing I know from the charter is we're not supposed to direct city employees.
Right.
That's what I understand. We can talk to you all day long as much as we want, but we can't direct you because we're not your employer.
Yes, ma'am.
The only one we can direct is Mark. So if any council person is trying to direct any other city employee, then that's wrong.
I don't think anybody up here has ever tried to direct a city employee.
Well,
I've
you
tried
can
to
answer for
consult-
yourself.
Oh.
I
have
can
never
answer
tried.
for
Okay,
me.
that's fine. But what do you mean by consult?
What you just said, push them. I've never tried to get them to do anything they shouldn't have done. I've never told them, hey, you need to go and do this or this. I've
Okay,
talked
well,
to them.
maybe the employees felt like you were. I don't know. I didn't talk to the employees and ask them that. I'm just, from their point of view, maybe that's what they were thinking. Maybe they felt pressure from
They
you talking
didn't
to
have a
them.
problem talking to me.
I
Okay.
don't know.
All right, I'd like to make a comment, please. There's a lot of good things to say about Mark being a city manager, especially for somebody that wasn't experienced. I think he came in and did an adequate job and I appreciate it. I never had a problem with him personally. But the biggest problem I have was exactly what these two ladies just said was at the end of last year's going through the budget, that his coming and demanding such a large increase. I think when I say demanding, it was like take it or leave it. And I regret the fact that I supported that vote because I was concerned about what would happen. But just like Bernice just said, that what would happen afterwards, but I haven't forgotten that moment. And that moment has stuck with me ever since. When somebody comes in and have no experience as a city manager and forget about what adequate job he's done, but basically turn around and says, take it or leave it. I want this amount and I won't negotiate. That is just something I cannot accept. And I don't think that he'll ever grow into be the type of manager that's worth the type of raise that we actually voted for. So I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to make a motion that for that reason, and there's a lot of other reasons I don't need to bring up, I make a motion that we terminate Mark Schrader as our city manager.
And I second it.
Well, I think that's a very foolish decision. I think that as a person that has sat here under many city managers at this point, I can tell you can do a whole lot worse than Mr. Schrader. You know, Mr. Schrader has done a lot of things very, very well. Nobody's perfect. I don't think anybody's ever going to claim that anyone's perfect, but I can tell you that it's easier to start a business here. It's easier to get your information that you need here. It's easier to, up until we changed our computer system, it was easier to get all of your daily needs, your bills and whatnot. And as far as the employees, I've had a great many employees approach me about Mark's performance, not specifically for that issue, but it's been brought up, and overall, everybody seems to be quite happy. There's plenty of people that would say that he forces people to follow rules. He forces people to, dot their I's and cross their T's. And I think that's exactly what we as a council should push for our city manager to do, to make sure that people aren't letting things slip and that everything is on the up and up. So Mark, I just want to tell you, I'm very happy with your job performance. I'm very happy with the things that you've been able to accomplish in Avon Park. I think that you've, as Brittany had said earlier, as far as filling the vacancies, that's the bane of this council's existence for years and years is job retention and filling the vacancies. And we've had people, beat on the desk and say, we need this, we need that employee, we need this position. And you've been the first one that actually was able to do it with what I feel is the most qualified people that we've ever had in this city. So I thank you for the redundancy that you've built in a lot of our programs and a lot of our departments. I think it's been a absolute net positive having you here, and absolutely wish you all the best. And I thank you very much for all the effort that you've put into Avon Park.
And I also feel like it would be really wrong to hold a decision that we made as a council against Mark. If we agreed for it, that was our decision. So if you should be mad at anybody, it's yourself. As far as the raise goes, I feel like basing an entire evaluation, I mean, the entire first page of that evaluation said, take the whole performance and base your evaluation on a whole. There's been a lot of meetings and there's been a lot of decisions that we've all made with Mark's help to get the city on the right track. And I feel like if you hold a decision that you made as a council person against him, I feel like that's wrong.
Well, not to mention the fact of making a motion to terminate your city manager when the thing that you supposedly were scared about was losing your city manager. Seems pretty stupid, guys. Maybe you should think about, longevity here. And if you want to get rid of a city manager, you should maybe advertise for one and find one and then fire your city
And I
manager.
feel like we shouldn't be making that on a spur of the moment decision.
It's based
It
on
should be
emotion.
Something, exactly. It should be something that is placed on the agenda, something that is well thought out. And a spur of the moment decision is not wise.
Let me just say this, and then I'll finish that I think that our evaluations have all been well thought out. We had over a month to go ahead and do that. Everybody filled it out and everybody graded it. And I do regret the saying, yes, that's exactly what I commented. I regret giving him the increase in raise at the time. It was an error on my part, and I take full effect from anybody who wants to condemn me for that. That's fine. But if you remember back then, when we brought up the raise, I think all of us, when we were expecting somewhere in maybe the 90-something $1,000 increase, when he asked for 140, I looked at everybody's eyes and everybody's opinion, and everybody said, that's a lot of money. How about this or that or this or that? And basically, he put us in a position to where it was take it or leave it. That's exactly what he did. He said, take it or leave it. And so I do regret the fact that I voted for it then, but I'm going to vote for it now. So that's my opinion. I have nothing else to say.
And that's my opinion and I'm sticking to it.
All right, well, I mean, the evaluation
Same
as
here.
a whole meets expectations, so
Barely over the expectation.
barely is still
Barely.
meeting. I feel like it would be a detriment to the city. A huge detriment to the city.
And we have heard your opinion, Brittany, and your brothers, but yet still there's a motion and a second on the table.
Has there been any thought to what happens next?
Yeah, we've been thinking about it, at least I have.
Yes, I have. I'd like to maybe take some names for interim until we can find somebody.
But we should take a vote first.
Any other questions or comments on the?
So what would happen for the city as far as if your city manager meets your expectations and terminating a contract early?
Denise, any insight into the employment contract or what the ramifications of firing the city manager, even though it met expectations?
No, I'd have to look at the contract.
I looked at the contract to
see.
see where Florida's at will. We could terminate his employment at any time.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none? Oh, yep. Just give your name and address for the record, please.
Ryan Hartwig, Battle of the Bands Incorporated Vice President, PO Box 2015, Avon Park. And basically, I'd like to clear the air, Mr. Schrader. We've had some things with Battle of the Bands that I'd like to actually chat about. First and foremost, a few summers ago, I believe it was 2 summers ago, we had a first responder flag out on the circle for the brick project on the mall. And I was curious why we got a call from your office to take it down. If you could respond to that.
I received a call that it was there and shouldn't be there, and I brought it in front of council.
All right. Next, we also received another complaint from your office that we should not put first responder bricks any longer on the brick project.
I don't recall anything about that.
Okay. I don't know if it was the same phone call or different. I got that as secondhand information. So basically, after we got some of those problems with our Avon Park brick project, we started looking at other areas in order to honor our first responders because we are a first responder and veteran 501c3. Came upon us that there was a RFP at the beginning of this year. Is that correct?
For what?
101 Main Street.
You talking about the old wild building that was torn down, the?
Yeah, I'm
The
talking
vacant
about 101 East Main Street, Avon Park, Florida.
Yes, that's.
The submission was, I'm sorry, the submission was 2023, was to be submitted by 11 a.m. on 4/24/23.
Actually, I just found out about the other day you put in for that also.
Yeah, it was.
I was told was non-responsive.
Okay. I was
or not
curious as to
responsive.
why that never made it to the floor and why at that meeting I never got any sort of acknowledgement of the 9 hours.
I don't know. I just
work
found
I
out
put
about
in
the
on
other day when I believe a council member or somebody made a public records request.
that. Okay.
Didn't know about it.
Okay. So that was a mistake on part of your office, not it, all the copies went out to you, so.
No, the copies, I just told you, I just found out about it.
There was, I was,
They found it not responsive, but Mayor, if this is going to go on, I'd rather just take the vote. I think this is getting ridiculous.
Okay, maybe you could get to the point.
sure. No, those were just a couple of questions that I had for him to clear the air. However, if you guys are looking for city managers or names of anybody, Battle of the Bands has a couple of nominations.
Okay. Appreciate it. Yes, ma'am. You know the drill.
Brenda Gray, 421 Tulane Drive, Avon Park, Florida. I just have a question. I think it's maybe for the human resource, and I don't know what's in the context of Mark's contract, but is there anywhere in the contract say you all must give him a certain amount of days notice for termination, or do you all, or he must give you all a certain amount of days notice if he's going to quit?
No, I've read Mark's contract
Okay.
and it doesn't, we don't have to give him a notice and he don't have to give us a notice.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing.
Sorry, human resource. I spent the
No,
last
there's
week.
no notice. It's just,
That's all right.
severance pay.
Okay. Question? Name and address for the record.
Emilio Garibaldi, 126 West Main. Just for clarification and everybody here and myself, what were for the reviews, you said that it was 3.4. What were each of the council members' reviews at?
Yeah, it's in the packet there, but let me pull it up.
That's all I want.
Mayor, would you like me to pull that up on the screen?
If you would like to. But the overall, without going to every single category, the overall, mine was from 1 to 5, 4.99. Let's see who was. Jim Bernard was 2.98. Ms. McGuire was 4.46.
Shelley was the next one.
Yep. Shelley was 1.98 and Bernice was 2.81. For a grand total of 3.46 average. And there's a lot more data if anybody wants to pull it. There's more in there. All right. If there's nothing else constructive here, perhaps we should take a vote. So is there anything else?
Just want people to think about it.
Yes, sir. Just give your name and address for the record, please.
Name's Arnold Wilson, 1412 South Carolina Avenue, Avon Park, Florida. Point of clarification. I inherited my grandparents' home and we did some rehab on the house and the hurricane came through and I had a shed in the backyard. Well, code enforcement came by and said that I had to take the blue tarp off of the utility shed. Well, I did take the top off. I came and met with code enforcement and at that time, the case was closed. To me not having a clue, and no one even came by and told me anything. I had 12 certified letters sent to 72 East Parker Street in Lakeland, Florida. I haven't lived there in over 12 years at that time. However, they were finding me at a rate of $100 and some a day. And by the time I was able to raise the money to buy my father's nightclub, I had $110,000 fine in my house. I want to know who is responsible and what.
Yeah. Okay.
The city managers, oversight of his employees. Are very infringed on
Arnold,
that.
we can answer that. That's code enforcement department, but we're talking about a separate issue here. So,
Okay, all right,
yep.
thank you.
All right. Anything else? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
No.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
No.
motion passes.
All right.
Mayor, who would you like me to get with in the morning?
Jerry, any?
As far as
No,
final
just-
pay or?
No, I just need to come in, get my stuff out, let them know kind of what's going on because
I would say just, get with, Kristen. She can let you in and get whatever you need.
Mark, I apologize for this. I think it was very cowardice what this council did tonight. This should have been placed on the agenda if that was the will. And you should have had your chance to have your supporters and detriments come, and you should have had a fair shake at it. So I apologize for that. I think it was very unprofessional. So I wish you well in all of your life
Appreciate it.
journeys.
Appreciate it.
I would also agree with that. I
Thank you.
appreciate everything that you've done because I do feel like you did have the city's best interest at heart. I feel like all of these employees up here should have been given a chance. I mean, they're all shaking their head. I feel like the people that some of the council listened to and how they got their information, I feel like that was completely wrong. And I know you'll do well because you are an asset anywhere you go, and I appreciate it. And I feel like now we have a real mess to clean up, whereas you thought it was a smart move to get rid of it, but now you've got yourself a mess.
Yep.
And I appreciate his kind words. That's why I asked who to meet with. If it's Jason or Melody, I know I don't care about the city, but I do, and I care as much about these employees, but somebody needs to know just the projects we got going on. I'll be more than willing tomorrow to sit down with them.
Okay.
So, but I'll be in the morning to turn my stuff in, and maybe Jason, maybe you, the three directors, I'll get with you, let you know what's going on, okay? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to item number 15, 2024 legislative update. This would be
Okay, let me, get back to that. I was under your charter thing. Okay. Yep, you have the PowerPoint for this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can go to the next slide. All right, let's back it up. Where'd we end up first? It's missing a slide.
I'm sorry.
No, that's not it. Okay, I'll go by that. That's the live, the Live Local Act. That's not the, we're looking for the 2024 legislative substantially
Sorry,
affecting municipalities.
give me just a moment. I have to pull it up for the packet.
What did you say you're looking for? What is the name of the document you're looking for?
It's on the screen.
It's that one there.
Okay. Well, I thought that's what we had up there to begin with.
That's
Same as the packet, right?
That's not the same. No, that's something else. It's on the screen. I have it pulled up.
Wait for the mayor to get back.
That actually is in the packet, right?
We're talking about, it's not the same as this.
Oh,
It wasn't it wasn't the add-on. The add-on's the second one.
At least I found it, Jerry.
Huh?
But at least I found it.
Yep. You can go to the next slide. Can we wait for the mayor, I assume?
it's up to you.
If you want to wait, you want to give everybody a 5-minute break? Anybody else need a break?
Yeah, I
Here he
think so.
comes. He's coming back now.
Oh,
His first bill is a DEP bill. Basically does a lot of things, but the key issue that I thought was important for the city was that encourage the use of reclaimed water. And what they did in that, it's going to require all domestic wastewater treatment facilities to prepare a reuse feasibility study to implement reuse when feasible. It requires that any wastewater treatment facility provide reclaimed water that will be used for commercial and residential irrigation within a nutrient basin management plan or reasonable assurance plan area to meet advanced wastewater treatment. So that really say. Last I've seen, it had not been approved, but it's out there for the mayor's signature. There's one on relating to sampling beaches. My first inclination was that was saltwater beaches, but then it appears that that's any beach, which would include your lakes. I know we have had sampling in the past, just need to be careful that we get that done. I don't know what department that falls under, but there are basically existing rules with regard to, sanitation on the beaches, and then that they're basically changing them and adding more. Next one is preempts local governments from restricting the construction or installation of housing for legally verified agricultural workers on land classified as agriculture. Then it defines that. I'm going to try and shoot through this. I cut a lot out, but this is a 2.5 hour presentation. I tried to cut it as much as I could out to get to the real meat of it. The next one, 151, it's basically about the Florida retirement system, just making you aware of that change for your, and we'll go to 808, allows firefighters, law enforcement officers, correction officers, so on, to choose medical specialists for treatment of compensable presumptive conditions when they're under former bills. They were allowed some medical reimbursements and so on. The bill limits reimbursement for specialist treatment to 200% of the Medicare rate and specifies that the best specialist must be board certified in the relevant specialty. We go on to ethics, 7014. So timeframe for completion of investigation of alleged ethics violations conducted by the Ethics Commission on Ethics and so on. And disclosure requirements relating to disclosure of identifying information of a legal client and imposes additional requirements on local government ethics regulations and procedures. The bill requires the commission to begin the preliminary investigation within 30 days and so on. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we got a lot here. Financial disclosure, as we've mentioned before, that Form 6 was passed last year. Then there was an amendment to extend Form 6 requirement to 2025, which failed. Therefore, that's when I told you that you need to get that done, however you want to get it done. 7073 is the next one. I'm going to skip over this one because I have a separate presentation on the Live Local Act that Mark asked me to put together. 473 provides that any municipality or other political subdivision that substantially complies on a voluntary basis with cybersecurity training standards and notifications is not liable for connection with cybersecurity incident. The bill goes into some definitions and so on with regard to that. It's a little bit of protection for you so long as you adequately prepare for what's going to happen with your cybersecurity incidents. It talks about an action in connection with a cybersecurity event. If the defendant is a municipality, the defendant has a burden of proof to establish substantial compliance in order to fall into that protection. Okay, 149. The bill increases the maximum limit for continuing contracts for construction projects under CCNA from 4 million to 7.5 million plus annual increase based on the CPI. So your engineering and surveying fall into that, and that's a good thing for you because that allows you to use your continuing contract engineers and surveyors more projects without having to go out to formal bids each time. And there we go. There's a new modification on public projects under the current law. 255.0992 prohibits the state and political subdivisions from requiring bidders for public works projects to meet local preference, wages, and employment benefit prerequisites. The bill also clarifies that statute providing for that geographic consideration prohibition does not apply in contracts for public works projects for which the municipality is the sole source of funding. So we're basically saying if they're getting money from grants, then you can't use geographic requirements such as you've got to have an office in our city limits or something like that, or we're going to assign points for people that are inside the city limits and so on. But you can do that according to the statute. Obviously, you'd have to have that in your purchasing policy. But if you're the sole source of funding. 1142. Regarding occupational license, the amendments for this section will be assist contractors who choose registration in a local jurisdiction rather than qualifying as a statewide certified contractor from the Department of Business and Professional Regulation. When local jurisdiction turns, it will no longer issue local licenses. It's an interesting one, 674, basically mandating the use of United States produced iron and steel products under certain circumstances in your projects in the future. I'm going to skip over those to go to 1451. Prohibits counties and municipalities from accepting as an identification any identification card or document issued by any person or entity that knowingly issues such identification cards or documents to individuals who are not lawfully present in the United States. And it does not apply, obviously, to documentation from the federal government. Building permits, this 267 revises these standards and timeframes to try and expedite. The new timeframes may be waived in writing by an applicant, but the local government may not require waiver of timeframes as a condition precedent to reviewing your building permit applications. I'm sure the county handles that for you, so I'm assuming that that's going to be how they handle this as well. They'll pick that up. But if you miss the deadlines, then there's a reduction in the permit fee and so on. Yeah, well, I don't know if anybody knows, but I don't think that your permitting is all done by the county, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, this is a tweak bill for the 2023 Live Local Act. I'm going to skip over that because I'm going to talk about that as well. It includes some expedited permitting as well. And it's enormous and convoluted. Okay, I think I skipped over one. Local regulation, non-conforming and unsafe structures creates a new Resiliency and Safe Structures Act, providing the local government may not prohibit, restrict, or prevent the demolition of following structures for any reason other than public safety. Non-conforming structures or buildings determined to be unsafe by a local building official, or structures or buildings ordered to be demolished by a local government that has proper jurisdiction. So I assume that what was trying to be addressed there was the issue of saying that you can't destroy or a building that is historic in nature and so on. I think that's what that's probably aimed at. Okay. I'm going to skip over that and go to business impact statements. So this new bill requires now that local governments to complete business impact statement prior to adopting and implementing comprehensive plan amendment or land development regulations other than those that are initiated by private parties. So if they're initiated by the city, we still have to do that business impact statement. And where that there's when that was last passed last year we were exempted under that section from land use, but now we do have to do those types of land use actions. I assume that the Central Florida Regional Planning Council will put that together for us, but I leave that to you. Public record exemptions, really not much interest. Basically, we've now city attorneys fall in the same protection, family information, and phone numbers and addresses and things like that that law enforcement officers and others in the city enjoy. Impeding, threatening, or harassing first responders is a new one. Creates prohibition for any person after receiving a verbal warning not to approach a first responder engaged in lawful performance of legal duty from violating such a warning and approaching and remaining within 25 feet of the responder with intent to impede or interfere with the first responder's ability to perform such duty, threaten the first responder with physical harm, or harass the first responder. And it provides a definition that's been a little broader for first responder than it was previously. And let's see, lights displayed on fire department vehicles. Don't get this one, maybe the fire department does, but it says basically it discusses the use of blue lights, and I make that available so that the fire chief can look it over and make sure he's in compliance with it. Unauthorized public camping and public sleeping is a really big one, controversial. Prohibits counties and municipalities from authorizing or otherwise allowing any person to regularly engage in camping or sleeping on any public property, private public building or its grounds or public right of way under the respective county or municipality's jurisdiction unless the county has designated the property for such purposes. The bill defines the public camping and sleeping and excludes specified activities under that. Establishes a requirement for counties to designate public property that's for regular camping and sleeping if they intend to do so. A county by majority vote of the governing body may designate property owned by the county or municipality within a county to be used for public camping and sleeping for continuous periods of up 1 year. Properties within a municipality, the designation is contingent upon concurrence of the municipality by majority vote of the governing body. Okay, county's designation is not effective until the Department of Children and Families certifies the designation through procedures established in the bill. And it must include documentation that the following minimum standards and procedures are met. There are not sufficient beds or homeless shelters. Oh, thanks. Oh. Okay, so there's some restrictions on there I'll skip over. But it was a really big bill. There's some modifications to the school zone camera statute, which won't matter until you guys decide you want to do that. So thanks. So I just did what appeared to me when I did it to be an hour's presentation. So
Very good.
now we have the Florida's local Live Local Act. So this originally was passed in 2023. They did what's called a tweak bill this year to make some changes, some okay, some not so okay, so favorable. The intent of the act was affordable workplace housing. And that's what they mean by live local. So some of the main points are preempts zoning density and height requirements for affordable multifamily residential house. Oh, let me say before I start on this, I assumed that the bill that was passed in 24 just recently is going to pass, be signed by the governor. It may not be. And then we still have the 2023, but whatever they tweaked in it is not going to be done because he still hasn't signed it at this point. So zoning density and height requirements for affordable multifamily rental housing for commercial, industrial, and mixed use zones under certain circumstances. Quote there is it removes a local government's ability to approve affordable housing on residential parcels by bypassing state and local laws that may otherwise preclude such development while retaining such right for commercial and industrial parcels. Requires local governments to provide electronic inventory of publicly owned properties. And then the Florida Home Finance Commission or Corporation is to provide local governments technical assistance to facilitate the use of lease of local property for affordable purposes. Requires local government to maintain a written policy of procedures, policy for expediting building permits and development orders for affordable housing projects. There are also some ad valorem property tax exemptions, which would be implemented in the 2024 tax rules because they were passed last year. There'd be for land owned by a nonprofit entity that is leased for a minimum of 99 years for the purpose of providing affordable housing. It's also for rent restricted units within newly constructed or substantially rehabilitated developments, setting aside at least 70 units for affordable housing for households earning 120% of the AMI or less. The local government may offer, this is something you can do if you wish to pass an ordinance to do so, ad valorem tax exemption for property owners to dedicate units for affordable houses for households earning 60% of the area median income or less. Requires administrative approval of qualifying projects rather than public hearings. I talked to Jeff at Central Florida Regional Planning Council and through email, and asked him, what they were going to do with regard to that since they do our approval. So in the past, it came before you, but we're going to be skipping that in these projects going forward. So need website notice of the administrative approval, and we'll talk about the fact there's a, you have to also post your procedures for that. Parking requirements are relaxed within, this is a new 2024 aspect. From transit stop must reduce parking requirements by 20% if 1/2 mile of a major transportation hub accessible to pedestrians without endangering safety. It actually is increased under the new one. And we'll get to that. Jeff did produce some key points for an ordinance that he sent, and we'll be talking about that. It allows the developments to go in places they would not otherwise be allowed. So that's really, I guess, an opinion, but that is actually straight out of the bill summary from the legislature. Applicable to zoning districts specifically designated as commercial, industrial, or mixed use, but not to residential zoning. It preempts density limitations. It's especially the new act would restrict the floor area ratio, and they get 150% of the greatest FAR under code. It preempts height limitations. The exception is if it's if residential areas adjacent on 2 or more sides, which is actually kind of hard to do. Then it also has restriction with regard to how many homes are in that subdivision, that residential subdivision. You have 71 or more affordable units for households that earn up to 120% of the for the ad valorem tax credit that earn up to 120% of the AMI. If that eligible development units that serve households with 80% of 120%, 80 to 120% AMI is a 75% exemption. The eligible development units serve households below 80 to 100% exemption if they serve below 80% of the AMI. 40% of the affordable residential multifamily units must be rental units for a period of at least 30 years to get the tax break. And my question there was, how do you enforce that? Some taxing authorities will be able to opt out of the 80 to 120% AMI tax exemptions. You must be in a county where the number of available affordable units at or below 120% AMI is greater than the number of households at that AMI. You can pass the opt-out ordinance by a 2/3 vote, renewed annually by January 1st. Developments approved prior to the opt-out not affected. So for the tax exemption, once again, contain more than 70 units, households below 80%, developed on land where no previous improvements existed or was removed and substantially completed within 2 years before the application. Or if it's funded and has land use restriction agreement with the Florida Home Finance Corporation that requires property to remain affordable to the households up to 120% of the AMI for 99 years. The exemption, though, only applies to units at or below 80% AMI. So what are some of the actions that the city could or should take? Well, we're required as of the 23 amendment to provide electronic inventory of publicly owned properties, which may be appropriate for affordable housing development. So that I've asked, I sent something to Central Florida Regional Planning Council, Jeff, to start considering that. We'll need to put that together, and we'll have to put that on our website.
The Affordable Housing Commission's already working on that. We've been working on that for about a year. Mhm.
Oh, good. All right.
Avon
For
Park, Sebring,
Avon Park.
and Lake Placid.
Because I talked to some other cities and they're basically fiercely trying to put it together.
Well, one of the employees of Central Regional, or whatever it is, yes, that she's on the AHAC committee. So that was put in our LHAPs a long time ago. So we've already been trying to work on it with the county and everybody else.
Good. That's good to hear. Establish and maintain a written policy providing procedure for expedited building permits and development orders for affordable housing projects. Something else we have to do. I guess we'll do that in conjunction with the county. Procedure for administrative review, which I think is Central Florida Regional Planning Council thing. You'll probably want to have some input administratively from the city as well. Make decisions on additional tax exemption for developers who dedicate units for affordable housing for households earning 60% of AMI or less. Is a question mark that they have, because that's the additional one that's up to you and whether you want to do that or not. Make decisions on how the city will ascertain continued compliance with the Live Local Act by completed projects, which I think is problematic. Determine whether Highland County qualifies as an opt-out county for purposes of tax credits, as I mentioned in slide 10. And if so, does the city want to opt out?
So
Because
even if the county opts in, so I know with AHAC, they have been giving tax credits and things like that. So even if the county opts in, the city can still opt out.
That's right. That's my understanding. As long as the county qualifies as that opt-out county. That's my understanding of
Who
it.
determines if it qualifies?
There's a framework that they provided to determine that.
But is it ultimately the county that decides if the county
No, I
does,
think-
or
I think it has
state
to,
board?
has to do with how, what breakdown of the community is. Central Florida Regional Planning Council is providing ordinances regarding the land use and administrative review requirements. I would think other model ordinances produced after the bills are signed and the governor will make it a lot easier for us to decide what we want to do with regard to those ordinances. This is some miscellaneous issues. The bill will sunset in 33. But even after the bill sunsets, the developments approved under the Live Local Act, still conforming uses if they still conform with the affordability requirement, otherwise non-conforming. There are also exception for airport impacted areas. I didn't research what that meant, but and those near military bases, which I know both of those could be issues for you guys. So I know they're there. I just wanted to mention them so they can be looked at. With the applicant submitting the application, written request or notice of intent to utilize the provisions before the effective date of the bill are allowed to notify the city by July 1st, 2024 of intent to proceed under 2023 LLA. That's it.
First and foremost, we need to see if the county is participating or not.
Well, on the, on the opt-out provision for the taxes, if they qualify as an opt-out county, that would be an important issue with regard to the tax exemptions.
Okay.
As I understand it.
Your suggestion is stay put for now, or what?
Yeah, right now, I've been talking with Jeff about the administrative, because that needs to be in place because that's from the 23 bill. And then that administrative policy, and then I'm glad to hear that they're already started because that was from 23 too,
The land
provide
bank.
inventory of properties that the city owns that could be used for low cost housing.
Okay, any questions for Jerry?
No.
Very good. All right, let's do a city manager report without a city manager. FAA, they've not heard anything on the AIPP lease. It's no surprise. Next thing is the next regular council meeting falls on May the 27th, which is Memorial Day. Obviously, we cannot have it on Memorial Day. Is there any conflict with the next day, Tuesday?
When is this?
This would be May the 28th.
I think that's good.
Anything from staff? Any?
We
conflicts?
have no conflicts with that.
I can't be here. I've got Sulphur Springs the 28th.
Okay. How about we could push it till the next Monday, the 3rd?
That's good.
I'm good with that.
Mayor, is it safe to assume this would be for the CRA board meeting as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any conflicts? I heard some yeses.
No,
Good.
no conflict.
Good.
I'm good.
All right, so it'll be June the 3rd. We'll have both meetings on that day. All right, anything else that the staff's aware of? Okay. All right, well, that concludes our agenda.
Who's in charge of the city now?
Yeah, good question.
I mean, do we have anything in the HR policy that say who steps up?
There was no succession plan. There was no succession plan.
So it's pretty much the council decision, isn't it? Isn't that something we're going to do before we leave? I'm asking.
I think so, because we need either someone or someones to take the responsibility. My biggest concern is paying the bills and signing the checks.
Yeah. Ordinarily, the city clerk would actually step up into that position. And then all of the department heads would have to, just do a doubly good job to report all of the things to her until we can find a interim. So we need to immediately put out for an interim. Now, of course, how we put out for an interim, there's lots of different ways to skin that cat. So any suggestions? Can put it out for a certain number of days. Ordinarily, you would already have someone picked, able to do that. So I would just say if there's nothing immediate, then we just put it out for 30 days for an interim, and we also need to immediately advertise for a new city manager. And as far as the advertisement goes, obviously Jerry can pipe up with the legalities of how we do it, but we need to establish a pay scale. We need to establish any different job duties from what we had with Mark, all that stuff. So that would probably need to be a line item at our next council meeting. Hopefully Denise can put together as good as possible to help guide us through that on that advertisement, and obviously speak to Jerry to make sure everything's legal. And I would just say we put it out for bid for an interim, at least until our next meeting.
I agree. Would you consider maybe having Melody be the signer of the checks, since she's in the finance department, or would you rather have Chris?
As far as signers go of the checks, obviously you can be a signer. You are a signer.
Yes.
Are you perfectly capable as of right now to do that? Okay. Is there anything else that staff is aware of that we need to make clear tonight?
What's the mayor? Should we give Christie another clerk to help out?
I mean, going and finding somebody to actually help her and be productive is probably not going to happen. It would just be a matter of if you want to pull somebody that already exists to help her, but that would be up to Christie.
We have an administrative assistant.
Liz, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Liz is very familiar
Yeah.
with the administration. So I could get with her in the morning.
Yes.
Should we pull another clerk or someone?
No, I think that would be sufficient. I know I have a strong enough background in being the clerk that I'll be able to guide her through it. I've also been taking opportunities to cross-train her as much as possible, teaching her as much as I know. So she's got quite a bit of knowledge right now.
The reason why I'm pressing, I remember Danielle used to be a clerk like that.
Yes.
And so you don't need Danielle.
No.
Okay. I would just ask all of the department heads, anything that you can possibly think of that you need to know from Mark, please write it down so that you can maximize your time on Monday. And I would just ask that everybody do the best job they can. I know you will. Mark picked some great people. I know all of you guys are solid, and I just ask you to do what you can.
I'm presuming that we're going to want to try and work out a separation agreement with Mark, because there's the issue of paying him and so on. So I'll work with the human resources on that.
Okay. Would that be something that you and HR could do, and then we would have to approve at our next meeting, or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
You'd have to approve it ultimately, because it'll be a
Didn't he already have a severance in his contract?
He does.
It was written into the contract, yes.
Right. It's standard and most employment attorneys recommend that you have a separation agreement, if you can come to agreement on one. And it works out the details of how it's going to happen.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the city? Seeing nothing, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Seeing no opposition, we are adjourned.